Thank you for listening. This is Thoughtful Discussions with Josh Snyder. I have my co-host,
Brittany.
And I'm here with the wonderful
Amber Lehman.
And tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So, Josh, I'm a Pittsburgh native. I am the head chef and owner of My Taque LLC. I've always wanted to be in the cooking industry, but for My Taque, I am a personal chef, but I also do small batch catering, cooking lessons, meal prep services. There's pretty much all things food.
Yeah.
But something that's really important to me is the community. So when it comes to if I go to like my son's school or just to like teach about food and really just bridging the gap between food and mental health, that's really big.
Got you.
For me.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were talking about community. You you recently did a drop with someone else, right? A collab.
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Saint Ravioli.
Yeah. If
He's
you haven't
the
checked
coolest.
that out,
Yes.
yeah, we've been hitting those drops.
They're so
I have an alarm set on my phone.
That's
11:57.
Yes.
I love it.
That's how you know it gets real. But stuff like that, it's so big. I feel like collaborations, and you just meet so many cool people.
Absolutely.
And Saint reached out to me and he was like, would you ever be interested in this? I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just also think that it's cool too that we can put more of an emphasis on Caribbean culture because there's not a ton in Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
So yeah, latest one, jerk chicken. Look out for it.
Very cool.
Delicious.
How did he find you?
Instagram.
Nice.
Honest to goodness. And that's something that social media is so huge for small businesses.
Absolutely.
Like, I rely so much on Instagram and Facebook and just all of it. And I'm able to communicate with so many people. Like the last meal drop I did, I had so many new people. And I always ask people, like, how did you find me? Somebody came from, like, you and Angel. And it's like the coolest thing. I'm able to reach all these different pieces of the community through social media.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yes.
And tell me where you got started, like why, what inspired you to?
So cooking was a very big outlet for me
Yeah.
whenever I was a kid. I come from a big family. I did have a bit of a rough past. My grandmother's, my mom's mom, and my dad's mom were really, really big with food.
Got you.
So I actually, one of my very early memories, my mom had gotten me an American Girl doll. And it came with, it comes with like their story, and in it was a recipe for breakfast potatoes. And I was cooking them. My mom came downstairs like thought something was on fire, and she's like obviously talked to me about the safety and things like that. But that was one of my very early memories of cooking something by myself for the first time. And so my mom's mom, she's from Bermuda. So I had like that Caribbean influence, Portuguese. She is who taught me, and actually my mom used to make fun of her. She's like, Graham will never get anything like off brand, but that taught me the importance of good ingredients.
Right.
And then my dad's mom, she actually did catering with her church and different things like that, but she also taught me how to make people happy through food.
Gotcha.
So whether it was her church every Sunday, she would handle everything. And I'm talking huge spreads, like cooking for over 100 people.
Yeah.
So just with them, I was very close with both of them. And just with the things that I went through in my childhood, cooking was the singular thing that I was able to do. One, I was able to experiment and be creative. And two, I was able to block everything out. It just came naturally.
Got you.
So then as I grew up, I did like vocational technical school, and I went to Mars. So I did culinary arts and baking. And then that's when I actually got introduced to culinary competitions.
Gotcha.
And I was like going through this competition, cooking up, and I'm like, there's no way I'm even going to place. And I remember being at the awards ceremony and kind of just checking out. And my friend like nudged me. They were like, they just said your name for first place. I was like, oh my God. And I will never forget it. My mom, because we had to drive some ways on a school bus, and I came back, and my mom had a van, and she opened the van, and she just had like flowers and balloons, and she was just like always such a big supporter.
Yeah.
So that's really how I got started.
Wait, what did you make?
So honestly, we had to do 3 different courses, and I know that I made a soup for the first one, and I believe I made a chicken dish.
Oh,
I really
nice.
do wish that I remember what I made. That would have been really important. Now I did go back to nationals, and I did not place, but it was still such a cool experience. But it also taught me the biggest lesson from nationals. I burnt myself,
Okay.
and in those culinary pans and stuff like that, they don't have like holders or anything.
Yeah.
So I grabbed it, and I was like, oh my gosh, but I kept going. I
Yeah.
didn't stop.
Yeah.
And you had to pick out all your plating. It was kind of like Chopped. They gave you
Okay.
ingredients, and they were like, do this.
Mm.
But it was one of the
They'll
coolest.
like cut their finger off and be like, keep
Yes.
going.
Keep going, keep going. You don't need a stitch, just as long as there's no blood in the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like such a cool experience. And then I went to IUP. I kind of wanted to get the business part of it, so I did hospitality management. When
Yeah.
I left IUP, I did actually the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. So that was like really cool. And then I had my son some years later. I was just working long hours. I did management, so I managed a restaurant downtown. The hours were very, very long. And so then I was like, you know what? I'm going to get into corporate America. Went and worked a job in sales. After 2 years, I was good at sales,
Yeah.
but my heart wasn't in it.
Right.
So I was like, then the pandemic happened.
Mm.
And I'll never forget, like, Brittany and I had this very large group chat of all these amazing, like 11 women. And
Love it.
I was like, guys, I think this is it. Like, I think this is time. So I had still had my job. But then I was going over like some names, like different, just spitballing. And, I really did. I was like, I think it's time. And I got an LLC and reached out to somebody for a website. And I was like, this is it. So during the pandemic, what was really cool is because personal chefs aren't like huge. There's not
Right.
a very large group for them. People were scared to go to restaurants. Restaurants were shut
Yeah.
down.
Right.
So I brought it to them. So that's really how it started out for my take. And I'm just rolling with it. I love like how happy it makes me when people give me feedback about
Right.
my food and tell me how it made them feel. Like, I think it was I made maybe my bolognese or something, and Brittany texted me and said like something about your grandma, and I burst into tears because like that's what I want. And one of my biggest things, Ratatouille, the movie, and there's the part at the end, the food critic, and he's just like this rotten guy, and then he tastes the ratatouille, and it takes him back to when he was a child, and then all of a sudden he's just this bright and happy person. Like, that has been my motivation my entire life.
Okay. And when did you said that mental health was also a big part of what you're doing? When did you decide that was also like, I'm gonna pioneer this and this is gonna be a part of it?
Well, honestly, just because my whole, I really started to get into just making sure my mental health was okay in college.
Yeah.
Like, just because of my childhood, that's when I became very open and therapy and just like good practices with that. So in college, that's when I really honed in on that. And then really, even kind of recently in the last 6-7 years with my son, realizing that food can make you happy. A bunch of bad stuff could make you feel bad, and like, it's a full circle.
Yeah.
So that was really just something, paying attention to my own mental health, those around me, and realizing, food is a necessity. That's why it can be so dangerous for some people, because you eat, you have to eat it to live.
Yeah.
And if you don't have good things and you're not treating your body right, that messes up everything, not just physically, mentally too.
Right.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yes.
It is a bad cycle because, like, if your mental health is not great, you're eating lots of fast food, just anything to get you by,
Quick.
which makes you feel even crappier.
Yes.
And it's really hard to get out of that. To
It
like,
is.
I just need to eat a vegetable today, like anything.
And you feel better too,
Yeah.
Britt. You do. And that's, and even also teaching people that you don't have to be a chef to love being in the kitchen. And a lot of people look at it as a chore. Like, it is something that you have to do every day, but even if you tweak little things, it doesn't have to be this giant ordeal. Like, our Sundays have now turned into like meal prep. Whether it's we're using both racks in the oven to roast off vegetables, but my partner and I, like, we are so in sync with that. So we really enjoy it. And then our kids see that, and it's a cycle. But like you said, like, you just need to eat a vegetable and that's how you feel. But you feel so good from head to toe when you're eating well and just taking care of yourself. And I'm not talking all like, you know, it has to be X, Y, and Z. Like, if you're just eating good, wholesome food that you made out of your kitchen, you do feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As someone that eats more fast food than I should, but I do try to, you know, pick the healthier options. But when I do get a home cooked meal, or when I do spend time, or Brittany, or when we have yours, or Saint Ravioli, or whatever, it is a huge difference, and you can definitely, you know, taste. Absolutely.
Yes.
I love it.
It makes you happy.
Right.
Yes.
So a little bit about your past and what you're doing now. Tell me about like some goals that you have, or you know, anything in the future that's either you know, kind of up and coming, or even like 5-10 years from now, what you.
So for the longest time, I wanted to own a restaurant. And with my partner and I, like what's so nice, so like obviously I went to school for cooking and things like that. Now he also loves cooking, but more of a hobby. The things that we come up with, like my jerk chicken salad, we came up with that in college because we had a bunch of leftover jerk chicken and we're like, what can we do with this?
Yeah.
Let's mess around. So like that's our love language together.
Got you.
So in a perfect world, we would have a restaurant attached to like a market, butcher all of our own meats, and like just sustainable. Like you want to, and that's what a lot of people don't realize too. You can use every single part of a vegetable, of a meat, whatever it is. And not that I have strayed away from that, but it does take a lot of time.
Yeah.
And when you have a family, you're like, my time needs to be with them. But I'd say in my 5 to 10 year plan, because again, things do change. And while that isn't completely out of the question, I am realizing how much I love to teach.
Got you.
I really, really love to teach. And if I could, one day, I would love to open small cooking schools in lower income neighborhoods all over the country. I think that it's very important, and it starts with children. And I know that there's a lot, it doesn't matter, you know, what financial situation you're in. I just feel like nobody should be deprived from good food. Children can learn how to grow things. Like my son's palate is great. And I truly believe that that's because, one, he watches me cook. 2, he cooks with me. Yeah. So then he's able
like wants to try it.
Exactly. And he's able to see the like appreciation behind it. Like, wow, I made that.
Yeah.
And just that, like, again, I think that where a lot of areas go wrong is, okay, let's give these overly processed foods. And I understand that in some ways they're more obtainable. But if I could have any type of part in changing that would, that really is my passion.
So what do you think, or I don't know if you have considered this, but like working with like after school programs or like summer camps and like trying to like do it even just locally, like tour around and get involved that way.
And if someone's listening to this and would love to do that, I am your person. Yeah. But
is that something that you've thought of?
100%.
Yeah. Awesome.
I actually just reached out to my son's principal because they had a multicultural cooking class. But they don't have it right now, but he sent me the program of who does it. Yeah. And I would love to reach out to them because I love the kids. I love to teach adults too. Yeah. But I love the kids. I really do. Like watching just life through a child's eyes is just like, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. I really would love to do that.
Cool. So you said your son cooks with you. How old is he?
He'll be 7 in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long has he been in the kitchen with you cooking?
Honestly, since he can stand, like 2 or 3. Yeah. He loves making homemade pasta.
Nice.
He thinks he's like this little king. Like he really does, and he loves.
I mean, that's a skill.
He is. He goes salt bae. But he loves it. I've actually been. So I actually can't stand baking, but I'm good at it. I just don't have a lot of patience for it. Yeah. So we kind of like learn together. I'm like, Kurt, look how cool this is. And that's a lot of thing that people forget too. Cooking is a science.
Baking definitely is.
Oh, yes. It can get aggressive. Yeah. Like if you make one little mistake, the whole entire thing is thrown off. I think the most recent thing I made in the past couple months, It was a peach pound cake.
Mm.
And I went to flip the pan, and anybody that is baked or just anything, I went to flip the pan like, okay, is it going to come out in one piece? Like, I was literally like, all right, we're going to do this. And I think I screamed. Kirk was like jumping up and down. I was like, it came out. It came out. And I was just...
I made some brownies. They did not.
No.
They did not come out.
Oh.
They're probably still in there.
But it happens. It's trial and error, honest to goodness. And as long as you try again, like, that's totally fine. But yeah, he's really into gardening too. So one of my birthday presents, we're going to Home Depot on Sunday, and I'm gonna get all my like basil and stuff like that. So I'm really gonna teach him about like just watching it come up. We didn't have a garden last year, but yeah, just farm to table. We love that.
Yeah.
We love the markets. Like, so cool.
Very cool.
Yes.
So you mentioned your partner and you cooked together,
Yes.
and you went to school together.
Yeah, we
Okay.
met at IUP.
And so, and when you say like partner, you mean romantic partner and,
Yes.
and business partner.
Oh yeah,
So,
definitely.
similar
All the partners.
similar situation, yeah.
Yes.
Which isn't something that we've really talked about on the podcast yet, or not in like depth. But
Well, I'm ready.
so Brittany and I, we in 2022, she came on full time to the print shop, and
Yes.
there were either some people that were kind of on their way out, or that we revamped and kind of let people go.
Yeah.
I have this whole article on our website, and where we talk about it. But now that it's just the two of us, and we're able to operate so efficiently, it's more so her operating efficiently and me doing my best to empower her.
I love
But she has really made a huge difference in it, and it shows what if two people have a common goal and they're able to
Yes.
support each other and work together, how much more they're able to accomplish. And I was talking to another business owner friend, and it's like when you have people that are working for you, you're both trying to extract the most value from each other. So it's like, well, how little can I work as the employee? How little can I work and get the most out of it? And then I'm, as a boss, I'm on the other end. How much can I get out of your
Yes.
work? And there's just this like tug of war. And when you have the partnership, like that is completely gone, and it's like both people that are like full steam, that are like how can I make this be its best?
Yes.
And that is a whole different, and I think the customers can feel it, see it,
Yes.
and in your case, taste it.
Yeah. And that, I love that you just said that. That was like such a light bulb. Like that just clicked, because Curtis is my biggest support system.
Yeah.
So we actually just did a real big event for Dick's Sporting Goods Corporate.
Yeah.
And we fed over 300 people samples.
Yeah.
Of 3 or 4 different things.
Got you.
And I
remember
like,
seeing the pictures. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I was like super nervous, and he's just like, we got this, like, we got this. And what I also love too is he can take me at all of my different like points.
Right.
And when it happens, like, we got set up, and again, it's hard to, like, I remember in a lot, I don't think people realize so much prep goes into this.
So
Oh yeah.
much.
Like, whether I'm doing in-home or meal prep, like, I am going and getting these ingredients, like, as quick as, like, a day in advance, maybe.
With a baby.
Yes.
And a 6-year-old.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like, all of my time goes around my kids too, so their schedules. And I remember the one night he came home, and I just had like all these different things going on, and I started like crying because I got like really overwhelmed. My daughter started teething and just all these things, and he literally had to say, he said, "Get out of the kitchen." I
Yeah.
was like, "I need to be in here." He's like, "Get out of the kitchen. I've got this."
Yeah.
And like in that moment, I was uncomfortable because I was very upset with myself, because that's a whole other thing. Motherhood is an entirely different other thing. And like, he just handled it. And then when we got to Dick's, so we were on site, we're setting everything up, not knowing really what to expect. We were like yin and yang, like the way that we moved around each other, like, it was amazing.
Nice.
And he just said everything correctly. And mind you, he has a full-time job.
Yeah.
So
that was gonna be
like,
my other question.
Yeah, like, full-time job.
Yeah.
And in sales at that, like, I mean, any full-time job, it's crazy. But so then he, took the day off with me. And, the things that he was just saying, like, he was just as proud.
Yeah.
And that is something that is just, like, when people say their partner, like, I used to be like, oh my God, partner.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
but it is exactly what that is, partner. Like, anything I say to him, he can just be real with me. And we bring out the best in one another.
Yeah.
And that is, it's very special. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
I do too.
I've been seeing it. I mean, I saw it growing up, and there's been instances where you kind of look at that, and I've always looked up to it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure I'd ever get to a place where that would be my reality.
Yes.
And I think now that it is, I'm doing everything I can to, keep all the puzzle pieces,
Yes.
working out.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. And that's like something, Kurt would hate if I told this story, but it's hilarious.
Oh, let's get
Let's
get it.
So we both met at IUP. I'm talking
Yeah.
like 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
And that's obviously I was in hospitality management. I worked at Ruby Tuesday. Used to love their food. Worked there, and I was like an assistant manager, and he was a line cook at the time. And something happened, and the boss was like, "You have to fire him." And I was like, "No, me." And she was like, "Yeah, you have to fire him." And
were
I
you
was
guys dating at the time?
Yes,
Oh,
of course,
no.
Britt. Of course we were. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." Like, they had gotten to a fight. It was something so ridiculous. So I literally had to fire him. It was horrible. And I was like, this is so horrible and funny. And like, we laugh about it now.
Yeah, yeah.
But it just goes, honest to God, it goes to a place of like, look where we were. And obviously we weren't running our own stuff.
Yeah.
But, and like, look where we are now. Like, honest to God. Like, it's awesome.
Is there anything that Curtis cooks better than you?
Yes.
That you'll admit?
On camera, that I will admit, listen, I will do anything, but okay, he can definitely barbecue better than I can. Now, he will throw down on a smoker, a barbecue. Actually, we've been looking into getting him his new thing, a pellet grill. So he's like, I'll be able to control the temperature this way and this way. And I'm like, oh my God, just keep feeding me food. But anything else, though, and that's what's also nice, is we have a great competitive nature to us. Like, really great. Our biggest battle, actually, and it will be probably for the rest of our lives, is mac and cheese. Who makes the better mac and cheese? Britt, this is a very real thing. I go back and forth, baked or cheese sauce. And actually, last time I made it, I did both.
Yeah.
I won't even get into that. All different cheeses that we use. Oh my goodness. But I will definitely say he does grill better than me.
Yeah. The burnt ends always wins it for me. Like when there's like a little bit of meat chunks in there.
Oh my God, yes. Oh,
So
I'm hungry.
he might win on that one.
Yeah. No, I really do. And it's so funny, like on Instagram, all we do is send each other videos all day. And I'll be like, okay, did you look at the ones that I sent you? And then we just like save things that we want to try. And that's also a very large part of my job, is research.
Yeah.
Because I never like to sit still. I never want to be in just one place. That's what's lovely about cooking, is there's always something to learn.
Yeah.
And I mean, what did we do? I mean, obviously we had like recipe, like cookbooks and things like that. But social media, like the videos and being able to see, like, there's this one guy that I follow. He's so funny. He's actually Bermudian. But he does all of these recipes from very old cookbooks. And I'm talking like really old, like ridiculous things. And he makes them and he tries them on camera. But like, just seeing things like that, I get so much inspiration from other people around the world. It's amazing. Yeah, it really is.
So I'm going to go on a little rant here. So I'm a huge believer in social media for business.
Yep.
With the business that I have now, which is almost 9 years old, the first year I started and with Instagram, and that first year about $20,000 worth came directly from Instagram. No paid ads, just hammering it as much as I could. And it made up 70% of the business.
Oh my God.
And it was just the amount that the reason that Instagram worked so well is because it's two-way. And where Facebook, like, you could put information out, but you can't like go in and like people's stuff and comment whatever. So Instagram, I saw the difference. I saw that they're tagging locations, they're tagging, you could utilize the hashtags. There's all these things where they, have had many iterations of how Instagram has developed. But I knew that was the spot that I could reach the people that I was trying to reach, which was people in my area that would need printing.
Yes.
Which is potentially everyone eventually is going to need some printing. But and to plug the shop real quick, PGHPrintShip. Check us out on our website. It's Brittany and I. And we have about 7,000 customers that we work with. And we love doing all these fun little projects, but some of them only need us every year or two.
Yeah.
And so that's why there's such a vast, there's so many products that we offer, but there's also so many different customers. And there's no one thing. We do a bunch of venues. We do offices. We do art, tons of artwork and events. And it's endless. As far as who all we're working with, it's really amazing. But I wouldn't have been able to, reach out to those people, I think, without Instagram and be able to show off what it is I'm doing. And now the way that, video wasn't a thing then when it was kind of first starting out, but now, video, reels, all that stuff, if you could take advantage of that. And it is, if anyone is out there listening and thinking about like, oh, should I do this, whatever, absolutely make the jump. Start on, I would say Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. TikTok's huge for me. Okay. I've gotten a few videos that have had, almost 200,000 plays. But I can imagine with what you're doing, I think that if you were to do it on TikTok, I don't know are you on TikTok yet?
So
a consumer, or because I'm not done with my rant yet, but I want to know.
No, not yet, but I'm getting there.
Okay. Are you consuming TikTok at all?
Yeah, I
love
TikTok.
Yes. So once you're on it, the first day or two is like, what the heck is this? But then once you're
that algorithm,
once it starts to figure out who you are, it's a whole different ball game, and the way that Instagram and Facebook are trying to manipulate or mimic it is nothing like what TikTok is. The way that it is working is working out very, very well as audience. And I was telling my nephew, who he makes YouTube videos and stuff like that, and he does he's doing really great with content, and we were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, I haven't really messed with TikTok yet. And I was trying to explain to him the amount of people on there consuming content versus people posting content. Like if you have Instagram, let's say I might look at 100 photos and I post per one that I post, right? Where at TikTok, I'm probably watching 1,000 or 2,000 videos for every one that I post. And so the amount of people that could potentially watch your video is so vast. And you have people on there that are, sharing news and, that kind of thing, that have a bigger broadcast than ABC.
Yes.
It's on one video they get 350,000 views, and it's more than the news got that night. And it's just insane. I got chills talking about it. Yeah. But when I was first starting out with my first business, I was 18 years old, and we did a print shop. This was when I was in Southern California, and we were on MySpace. We were we were within the first. It was I remember our account number. It was 757969 because you had to have the HTML. So so that was the number. And back in the day when it was first starting out, you couldn't pick remember the top 8. You couldn't pick it. So it was just the people that were early adapters, and we were early enough that we ended up in everyone. So we had a year after just also doing that and trying to hack that the best we can. It was before Kepchka was a thing. There was no spam yet. It wasn't and so we had 12,000 friends on Facebook, and we would just put stuff out. Oh, it was insane. Because we were so early, we were on everyone's page, and so anytime someone would go to one, we'd be there, and then they'd click us and check us out. So we were very blessed with orders coming in for being kids. I was 18, my brother was 20, and we started in my dad's garage. We did that for 3 years. We moved out to a bigger shop, did that for 2 more, and then another bigger shop, got a big automatic press, did that for another 2 years. Then we sold that and moved to Pittsburgh, and it's still running. today. We went and we went and
That's
checked it out
amazing.
last time we were in California.
Oh
They've
my
grown like
God.
3 times. It's awesome. So
Wow.
with the social media though, like it does so much. Like you've been in sales and Kurt's in sales, and like if you can, if I can just promote what it is that I do,
Yes.
like it sells itself.
Yes.
Like, and I hear like business owners in my industry and other industries that are like, I don't know, like sales aren't going so good, and I'm like, if
What have you
you
done?
if you love what you do, and you can post about it, and let people see it, and also put the work in, leave
Yes.
comments,
Yes.
like there's more to being interactive than, and that's why you want to go to those platforms where you can kind of go both ways. But it is mind blowing how much of a response that we get off of, even now that we've kind of gained. I think we're at like 7,500 followers on our Instagram.
Awesome.
It's like, we post here and there, and when we do, we get a pretty good response, and we're able to maintain that, and catch those DMs, and
Yes.
try to talk to people, and do all that. So, with thank you, if you're one of our followers, thank you for checking us out, and sharing our stuff, and
Yes.
and being involved, and all of our orders, of course, because we are doing well, and we got food on the table. We're very happy, but we wouldn't be here without our customers. So
Right.
do good work, get paid well. That's kind of like what I try to say
Yes.
to people that are starting out. But if you can do it, and promote it on the social media, like it is
It's life-changing.
mind blowing. Absolutely.
It is, and that's like when I say to people like, "Thank you for supporting my business."
Yeah.
I don't think people realize like that's so surface. No, literally, thank you for supporting my small business because you're
Yes.
also supporting my family.
They don't know. Like
No.
I get like, I'll have like $140 order, and then like my gas bill comes in, it's $140. I'm like, thank you, you just paid my gas bill. Like
Right.
you have no idea how much, like
Yes.
every little order, and like they may know, they may not know, like what that, it might just be a portion of the day, or it might be, and then you might, just like we might misprint something, you might have a bad batch, you got to throw it out, you have all that time and all that, energy, and whatever
Yep.
materials you use, that you just have to toss it and start over. And we need to be able to have that little bit of a buffer zone, of
Yep.
course. So every little bit that goes into it, we're always trying to get as much as we can out of it too. So
And that's what's so nice too. And I remember, I think when I placed an order with you,
yeah,
you were printing my menus for my in-house.
yeah.
And I was like so nervous. I was like, he's got this big, beautiful shop. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And you handle each and every customer. And I think my order may have been like $50. And I thought, like, he's not going to, like, not just you, but like,
Yeah.
I was so nervous, but you handled things with such care and passion, and you guys, you could just tell. And
Thank
that's
you.
what I think is so important too.
Giving me chills.
No, I'm serious. Like,
Yeah.
anything you print for me has so much love for. I think I actually shouted you out of my baby shower when I was like,
Yeah.
and by the way, all the signage here is from PGHPrintShip.
Love it.
But yeah, also, this is like a pet peeve of mine. I've found as a business owner, not even a pet peeve, but like it's so important that when you do make this journey, and if you are already on this journey, it takes nothing to share somebody else's stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like if I see, I don't care what you post, if it's something that could help in any way, shape, or form, I'm sharing it on my story.
Right.
And that's honestly how I make so many connections as well. We don't ever have had to met in person, but if I have either had your product or just really follow along with your journey, people are like, oh, thank you so much. Like that is so important, and that is how social media can be so influential. And like I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Share.
Did you ever see yourself becoming an entrepreneur?
So I saw myself being a boss. I'm very good at leading. And that's what I figured out when I worked downtown at that place. I had a staff that loved me, and that made me feel so good, because that was probably one of the hardest things that I ever did in my life, is being a boss and handling a lot of different personalities.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to do that. So I saw myself leading. and then once I got a taste of like, I would love to be my own boss, it could definitely be challenging because guess what? You don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Right.
There's nothing really to like lean on, like, oh yeah, I'll get my direct deposit. Nope, that's not how it works right now. And that's something also to get used to. But again, I love to lead, and I think that's also why I love to teach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely saw myself being some type of boss, but I guess not necessarily my own boss. Yeah.
So I'm curious, and like, have you found like your base yet? Like you're able to do this business. So I was able to do. I started my business when I was a stay-at-home full-time dad. I knew I needed to make money, so I was like, all right, I'm going to do this and this at the same time, and I could take my kid with me. I didn't want to do screen printing again. There's a lot of chemicals, equipment, and stuff that can not good for babies.
Right.
So when I switched over to paper printing, it was like I'm like, wow, this thing kind of does most of the work, and you just have to know how to operate it.
Yes,
really.
exactly.
And it can be, we have our office space moments where we want to grab a bat and beat the heck out of it, but it's not and that's why you don't see a lot of people like starting print shops, because like it's not sexy, like it's not like fun, like
The
oh yeah, I'm gonna
results
start
are,
yeah, if you really love it, but like
Yes.
people in general aren't like, oh yeah, I really love printing. So like I had like a manufacturing background. I was 16. I started working at my first print shop, and I was spray painting on T-shirts when I was 12, and like I was just like it was always fun, and like it's artistic, but I get to do other people's stuff and work with it or on it, and so it's always changing, but it's you're kind of still perfecting. I've been doing it 20 years now, and I'm still perfecting the craft every day. Like, all right, why did it do it that way? What's this? How did it? Now I'm communicating with these printers and trying to make the settings and the paper all kind of match up.
Yes.
Where before it was with screen printing, it's a very physical part where you're pressing the ink against the screen that hits whatever it is, whether it's a shirt or paper, stickers, whatever. So handling all of that and working with different types of equipment and everything. Tell me about some of your experiences, like with how you like you said you did baking, you don't love it, you like, what are your like you know what I'm talking about.
Well, first, I love that you said that too.
Yeah.
And like people aren't like wild about printing, but this sounds like, I don't even know, but I have to imagine that if I were in your shoes, that every time you print something, you bring somebody's dreams to life. You bring a dream to reality. That's very real. Like that is like, anytime I get a menu printed, you printed the sign for my daughter's baby shower for Dick's, like that was a dream. That was like, so, like that's very important. Look, I've got chills myself. But I'd say my base, I honestly, with Willow, I had a difficult pregnancy with her, so I really didn't have a lot that I did like while I was pregnant with her. I did a couple like in homes, but I've moved more to like the catering side of things, or even the meal prep. I love that I can bring like that joy to people's houses. How many times people tell me like, Amber, the fact that I was able to go into my fridge and grab out this meal and not have to worry about it. So I do a lot for families, and that is something that really makes me happy too. And that's another thing too, like it's trial and error. And just to kind of, so that's kind of my base, being able to control my schedule entirely. This is when the meal drop's going to be, because, my kids are in X, Y, and Z, and I have to move around this. And then I feel like the other side that people don't really discuss a lot is when you have a passion for something, pursue it. You always have to be prepared for anything, especially like in the restaurant industry, food industry, what have you. But, people can try to also ruin your experiences. Like one of the worst experiences that I had, I didn't have a contract yet. And I was like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And this was for over like $5,000. And I had somebody try not to pay me. And I had done so much work.
And put money into it.
So much money. And that was like a wake-up call, and I remember he had called me to his office, and this was actually supposed to be a further business deal. They wanted me to be like the head chef for them, and I was like, I remember talking to my friends about it, like, Do I give up on my take? Do I go and work,
Yeah.
whatever. But I remember going into this person's office, and I sat down, and I had to hold it together and not cry, not react. I took my phone out. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to record this. And I was completely by myself.
Yeah.
And it was just, that was the worst situation. Never happened again. I learned my lesson. I got
Yeah.
a contract, I think,
Yeah.
within a week. But just, again, people can try to deter you.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep pushing, because if you have a
Absolutely.
passion, seriously, like,
Yeah.
it shows in your work,
Right.
and you have to push for it.
Yeah.
If you believe in yourself, like, you are your biggest supporter at the end of the day. Like, obviously the people around you, and I
Yeah.
couldn't be more grateful.
Yeah.
But if you got that fiery passion inside of you, like, that's, get there.
Yeah,
You got to
right.
do it. Make the jump.
There was a job a few years ago, and it was we got stiffed by $5,000, and it's a kind of same situation, and I ended up having to take a loan out to pay for the materials, and which the vendors I was working with were very nice, and they let me kind of take my time on figuring out
Sure.
exactly how to make up all that, because it was supposed to be 15-day terms or something like that after I delivered everything, and there was this big event, and it can be tough, and like that at the time, like, that didn't break me. It wasn't like I want to stop doing this because this sucks, but it was definitely like one more strain, and it was like strain after strain after strain. It's like, how deep do I go? At one point it was like $70,000 in debt. And it's like, does this scare me, or is this just part of it?
Right.
And and I think it's just every person is different. I think one thing that you were saying a minute ago is just to not be married to any specific thing.
Yes.
So, like, be ready to adapt, be ready to change.
Yes.
When we were doing, now art printing probably makes up more than half of the business that we do, in house at least.
Wow.
And we have other vendors that we work with for other different items, but like the in-house, what we do mainly is our copier printing and some signage, but mostly the art printing.
Wow.
And so the art printing has we had been selling it, but we had been sending out to like other sign shops that had like bigger equipment, but being that they were sign shops, like, they didn't have the same quality standards that we did, because they're used to just stuff being on a wall and you see it from 10 feet away, or 50 feet away or whatever. And so it didn't the machines that they have are made to just be fast and kind of cheap, and just get the product out there. And so as we started to develop that, and then during the pandemic, it was a lot. I think a lot of people. Well, there were no events going on, so we had to kind of lean more into like, all right, well, what does everyone else want? I made some like coloring books. I made like there was a lot of cool things that I was able to do and kind of adapt. But we leaned way into the art printing because people could order, like, people could set up like an online store, and there were a lot of people in the service industry that were out of work, that were artists, that would have spent so much more time on their art, but they didn't because they were working. And now that they didn't have that job, they had the time to pursue the art career. And so we were able to kind of tap into that and help people out, because it's not like you had to order 500 prints.
Right.
No minimum order. You could order just one. And we would have them done within a few days, and it was good, but it wasn't great. There were a couple times where like there were hiccups, and when we were sending out for it, and there'd be times where the quality wasn't perfect. They weren't using gloves. We'd get like bends in the prints. There'd be one missing, and there was an art show that day, and so it's like I don't have the machine, so I don't have any control. The best I can do is have it ready for you next week. So bringing those machines in house and getting like the best of the best, that's made for exactly what it is we're doing. So now we have 3 machines. They're all 12 color machines, which is like bigger color gamut than most printers like have. And so for the art printing, it's like we're we're going to be going to a trade show, and I think like my tagline is like, are we the best print shop in the world for art? Like, I don't know. I want you to tell me.
Yes. Oh,
So like,
oof.
right?
Yes.
Like, I don't know.
I'm invested.
Yes. Please
Yes.
try us out. Maybe here's a gift card. I don't know exactly how I'm going to like do that, but like, are we?
You tell it.
Yeah.
Us on for size.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I'm inspired.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And that's where I feel like, to kind of piggyback off that, I think another really hard thing in whatever industry you go into is having somebody that doesn't quite see your value.
Right.
And whereas you have things, and I have like food to show for it, but I've had so many people just try to absolutely just tear me apart. And
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
I've seen so I think a lot of those people don't value themselves. And
I could definitely see that.
Yeah. And if you were able to like you have your menus and your prices are there and you know you're kind of doing your thing, if someone wants to gawk or say like, oh, I'd pay half that for this or whatever, cool, like you go ahead, make it,
go buy
like,
the ingredients,
right,
cook it
Yes.
yourself.
yeah,
Yes. 'Cause
the difference
honestly,
is you. And like there's people that get really concerned in any industry that like people are going to take their ideas from them, and I'm like, no, it's because like you are what they're buying. Like the reason they want it is you, like they can get the same ingredients, but it's never going to be the same because like you and every minute leading up to making it is what is going to make it different than what they did. So I have no qualms if someone wants to try to take what I'm doing and try to do it themselves, because I show up every day and try to do my best. And if they're gonna do that, then I'll respect them. But if they don't do as good as I do, I'm gonna laugh in their kindly laugh in their face.
Yes.
Like, okay, like keep going.
Yes. And it can be like just so demeaning. And I remember one of the first times I was just like, Curtis, like, what? Do they not know what I do? I thought, and I thought to myself, like, if I really get into marketing, I have a couple of friends that are photography, videography. I'm like, I need you to, I'd like to pay you. I want you to follow me around. I want you to see, on average, I go to like 3 to 5 grocery stores.
Yeah.
And markets.
Yeah.
Like, I am truly putting my all into this.
Right. Smelling things.
Yes.
Like,
looking at them, making sure. And that is something that's very difficult. But again, you know what? That also pushes me, because those same people continue to follow me and continue to see the work that I do. And that's definitely something that it's double-sided. It can bring you down, but it also brings you up.
Right. Have you seen, there's a Netflix documentary called Jiro Dreams of Sushi. He's a Michelin star.
So that's actually
chef.
on my watch list.
Okay. I won't spoil it for you,
okay.
but it's one of my favorite movies as a business owner. Just seeing it, we'll talk about it. Let me know once you see it, because
yes, I will.
It's up there if any of our listeners haven't seen it yet. And just in a way where like passionately love what you do, and like that work will pay off. So like you going to those multiple stores and finding what works for you, what doesn't, what and then you open a bag of something and it's all dried out and you're like, oh shoot, whatever,
Gotta go back.
Or I'm not going to go to that place anymore, or I'm not going to shop that brand, or whatever it is. Or maybe it was just a bad one, you give it a second chance. But like all of that is part of the development, and we think of that like it's just the day to day, right? But like you need, and then you'll end up with stuff like this happens to me where my supplier doesn't have what I need, and I've been going to them for years for it, and then they don't have it. And during the pandemic, it was a total mess. But then I find new supplier, and then like, okay, well that didn't work out, and now I have 5 places that I could go to. I really like this one that that I've been going to, and I'll go to them as much as I can. But now at least I have the resources. So there's always like this, and I when you were talking about having to fire your partner, and like these are stress tests that we get to go through, right? And once you do that and you figure that out, and you're like, okay, well I either I passed or failed, and you can kind of grade yourself and figure out how you're doing. But once you can get through that with your partner, now that once you can recover from it and figure
Yes.
out exactly what happened,
Yes.
then you're that much stronger for it, right?
Yes, exactly. And that just helps you on the next time, or it inspires you for the next time to do this a certain way. And it's just like, it really is. It's
And
not
messing up
linear.
is
It's a necessity.
absolutely.
You
Because
have
after
to-
after that incredibly uncomfortable conversation you had to have with that guy, you're like, I'm never gonna not
Ever.
have a contract again.
Girl.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah. Same. And now we don't do any work that's not paid for.
Right.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
can't like it was mad how our system worked before. It was like people would email us about an order and we would just print it, and our customer service was so bad we would never even it wouldn't be invoiced. We would never tell them it was done. With like there was too many people, and most of them were all working part-time, so like people were just doing little bits, and then the ball would get dropped, and then when they'd come back in there would be so much
Chaos.
more to do
Mhm.
Yeah.
that they wouldn't get back to that first thing, and so there was just stuff sitting on the shelf that I'm sure people really wanted, that we were just real bad at the execution, and and that was all just part of learning and figuring out exactly like how do we want every step to go, and what exactly is our process, what does it look like, and now every order has to be placed on the website. There's still one or two that sneak in every month,
Yeah.
and it's a total pain in the butt because like we were dealing with one today, and she's like, if this could have just been on the website, then I would have had all the information I needed. But instead, we have to keep going back to the customer and asking different little questions, and it's all there. So if you're listening, please order on the website. I promise it seems a little scary at first, but once you do it,
I'm
and I
it now.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have customers that are like, nah, I don't really want to, and then they do it, and they're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And I'm like,
Yes.
literally, it was asking you like 5 questions,
Yes.
your graphic, and your email
Yes.
address. That's all it is.
Yes.
So it's it comes over to us, and it gives us like a whole back end. We try to make it very, very easy. You don't have to sign up for anything.
Yeah. And that's, I can't stand that.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I have to, if I'm just
Like
like
create a login.
yeah, quickly look at something, or,
Right.
and they're like, make an account. I'm like, God, what was that? So ease of use is like very, very high up on
Yeah.
this. Like
It's not
very
the
easy.
prettiest, like, because I made it, and like I'm working on it like as we go, but it's not bad, and
No.
it communicates what it needs to be.
Shoots
so.
the email right back to me.
Mhm.
Pay your invoice. Boop boop. Let me know when it's done. It's fantastic. Seriously, it's
Thank you.
yeah. So ease of use is definitely very high up for me when it
Yeah.
comes to it's like ordering, and God, there's so many platforms. Actually, kind of going back real quick to the pandemic.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the businesses that came out of the pandemic. I
Yeah.
have met so many people that were like, you know what, I had to pivot to this, but I'm talking very successful, like just small businesses, and
Mhm.
So like if people were wanting to make the jump, then like we don't have to go through another pandemic to make it again. You know?
Absolutely.
Seriously, you don't.
Yeah, at least now you know that there's customers, and
Yes.
like you're not.
Yes.
It's one thing to go through it and struggle, and like I can't imagine starting in the pandemic, like you started in the pandemic. I mean, luckily you had
An audience.
the audience
Yeah.
and the customer
Right.
base, right? But I couldn't imagine just starting up fresh in like a very, very hard time to do business,
Yes.
depending on what your industry was.
Yes.
And like I know me and Panada, he opened the day of the shutdown.
Oh no.
I love their empanadas.
They're so
Yeah,
good.
They're so delicious.
they are. And it's like the luck of the draw, like sometimes that just happens, like, and you just have to like, okay, like, well,
Yes.
how do we go? Where do we go from here?
Yes.
And I don't know if they did Uber Eats or just pickups or whatever, but they got through it, and they're doing good.
Yeah.
And
And
so
then you like, my take came at a time where people were like just wanting like food from not your own house.
Yes. Normalcy. In some
Yeah.
weird version of normalcy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've met like some of the coolest people. One of my very favorite clients, a husband and a wife, he hit me up. He said, you know, I'd like to plan this for my wife's birthday, I believe it was. And of course you guys printed the menus. And that's another thing I actually really, really love is so for my in-home services, I do like kind of semi-event planning. So I bring a whole tablescape, matching dishes, liners, fresh flowers, the menus. So I really love that. This couple stayed in the kitchen with me the entire time. They ate their food. They asked me if I wanted to pull up a chair. No, seriously, like they were absolutely amazing. They are absolutely amazing. And anytime, just anything, if I post something or like we still keep in contact, and so I just like, it's so cool to meet the people
Yeah.
that are just like, yes, they're giving you business, but you make these really really cool relationships.
Absolutely.
Like and that's another thing, again, if you're like teetering, like, should I do it? Like, absolutely, it's going to be hard, but it's also one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done.
Yeah. Even if you just start part-time, or like as a like like get your feet get your feet wet, I'd say, and start figuring out all the little odds and ends.
Absolutely.
Because that's, and what I was gonna say, like you started yours during the pandemic, and I like that's got to be one of the hardest things. Your resources are so limited.
Right.
Like everything, I can't even describe. Like it was a very, very tough time for us because we had to change. Like 70% of our business was events based, and like our summers are twice as busy as our winter, because like in the winter there's not that much going on. You don't need that much printing. Yeah. So switching over to, and now it's leveled out more and more. Like this last month was supposed to be like one of our bad months, and it was not a bad month. So
I love that.
we're very happy to see. So like if August is twice as busy as this last month was, then it's going to be insane, because it was almost
good summer.
This last month was almost as busy as our last August was. So if that's a sign that it's going to get even bigger, then I'll try to get some sleep now. Because it's not going to happen then.
Being in the world of small business is so funny. Like, sometimes if people get like really mad at us, and it's like it's just two of us, and like when you come to pick up your stuff, it's like, "Hi, that was me that you were emailing."
And yelling at.
It's like, well, you, like, or if someone gets so mad, they're like, "I'm never coming here again." I'm like, "Would you do that to Target?"
No,
because you're gonna keep going back to Target, even if you had a bad experience. Like, give us a chance. Like, what if we had a bad week? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and that's what actually, one of the things I commend you guys on, your Google reviews.
Thanks.
And I remember somebody just put like a crap thing that just didn't even make sense, and you replied back to it with like such grace and like the sweetest thing, and I was like, God bless this man. Oh my goodness, because
she hits me up anytime there's an email with like any issue, and I'm like, I got this.
He's so good at it.
But see how.
Yeah, I'm like, I take it.
But see, that's also a part of it. It's uncomfortable, but that needs assessed too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you could handle a customer before it becomes a 1-star review, then their experience and the likelihood that they're going to trust you to come back to you is so much higher. If you can be honest with them, compassionate, try to be understanding, and what I like to do is ask them what they think is fair. So and I'll say, I'm willing to do this, but this is what I'd like to do. I want to know what you think. And that giving them and treating every situation differently.
They're like,
right.
Oh, how do I feel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
It does.
And we've been able to, I think, we do have a couple, which any business that's been around, we're almost 9 years in, like I said, it's good to have some people that just didn't like what it is that we did. And those experiences were definitely valid and warranted, and things that we learned from. Because if we didn't mess up at all, then we would, not that if we didn't mess up, because we are going to mess up, but if no one like pushed back, left a bad review, emailed us, told us, if no one tells us we're doing a bad job, then we might not ever notice that we were doing a thing that like they didn't like.
Yes. Feedback is so important. That's why I tell people all the time, like, hey, let me know how that was. I still do it to all my friends. They're like, hey, well, it's good. And I'm like, no, but I still need to know.
Yeah.
It's so important.
I need your taste buds. I want to know what you liked about it. Too salty? What? Like, especially with meal planning, because that's really the biggest challenge is coming. I did like a little survey on my story, and people said they want to see more vegetarian. Yeah.
That was probably my highest selling thing besides the salmon fried rice this last time around. And I was so happy I was able to get that to people.
Yeah.
What the people asked for.
Yeah.
Like that's, stuff's important.
Absolutely.
Very.
Yeah. You never know what, you could be selling so much more of some other random thing that you never even thought of.
Right.
If you don't ask, then you'll never know what it is that people want to be getting from you. Too.
Yes.
So.
And I think sometimes people get afraid, like they don't want to, like, oh, I don't want to know. Like I really do need the feedback. I want to know. And I keep notes.
It's hard to give
it is
unpleasant feedback though.
It is. It definitely is. I saw something the other day. It said it was like man, I wish I could truly reference it. It was an Instagram video, of course, or TikTok.
Yeah.
But it was talking about like just how to be honest with somebody, and it doesn't always have to be mean. Essentially,
like in a loving way.
Yes. And I was like, that is so true. And you can definitely, like, I feel like honesty is like so underrated. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know, people are like very like, no, I want your honest feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're listening, always give your honest feedback about things. Like that's how we grow. Like 100%.
I have this thing that I've said about like just relationships, whether it's a relationship with your customers, relationships with family, friends, your partner, trust, honesty, and respect. Like those three are all intermingled.
Huge.
So if a customer feels like they don't trust you, then they're not going to respect you, and they're not going to be honest with you. So they all definitely coincide, but underlying is communication and expectations, and being able to understand the customer's expectations, and be able to communicate your expectations too. And that's why these contracts are so important, right? Yeah. Because then you're able to outline everything, and then if you don't do what's expected of you, you know what happens in the contract.
Sure.
They know what to expect, and then if they don't do what is expected of them, you know what they're going to do next. Absolutely. So there's like a play-by-play. And that communication, and when you're advertising, marketing, I mean, that communication is very important. And there's times where I've missed the mark on, what it is that I thought I was trying to market. And then it was like, oh, wait, no. Like a lot of people asked this other question that didn't have anything to do with what I was trying to say. So I must not have, I created some other expectation that they, I wasn't trying to, or I find anytime I have to make a sign for something, I'm like, that's something that if I have to repeat myself like over and over and over, I'm like, all right, I'm adding this to my signature, or I need to make a web page about this. Like this is a, an FAQ. Like why is everyone asking me this one thing? So it's definitely communicating and absolutely
very big.
Yeah. So I love that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Yeah. So you started this business during the pandemic, so 2020, right?
Yeah.
So you're 3 years in now?
Yeah.
And is that when you got the LLC in 2020?
Yeah, it is. So I've had it for that long.
Yeah. And there's been awards?
So articles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. So that's actually on my link
awards
tree.
soon.
Awards soon. Definitely soon.
Yeah,
I I actually don't know if that's an option. What is it? No, what is it? Pittsburgh.
The best of?
Yeah. I don't know if there's an
City Paper? Oh yeah, there's definitely a category.
For personal chef?
Pretty sure.
Oh, okay. I know I saw caterer before, but who knows? I'll definitely be up there.
Just get your way in there.
Yeah,
You'll
absolutely.
figure it out.
And that's to follow me on all social media. It's My Taque, MyTaque, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. But then on my link tree, which is on all those sites, I have like the really great article that Colin wrote, and then the last podcast that I was on. But yeah, I'm just trying to get out there.
Yeah.
Will you tell the story, this last drop, that like a neighbor grabbed the food or something and ate it?
Wait.
Oh my God. And of course, it came from someone with Angel, and she reposted my stuff, and this lady was so nice, and if I ever have anybody, I'll confirm the order, like, hey, this is what time you can expect me for deliveries. I had actually a bunch, just all over very random places. And I hit her up. I said, hey, I just want to, I want to confirm your order. I want to confirm your address, blah, 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 blah. You're paid. Cool. And she was like, yes, okay, see you. And I was like, okay, great. So delivery day comes, and it was like the address was off by one number.
Mm.
And she's like, hey, I have this blue bin on my porch. You can set the food in. I pull up. I was like, oh, I don't see a blue bin. I had to get to my next delivery. So I was like, hey, everything's dropped off. I didn't see the blue bin. I put it on the couch on your porch. She calls me like 15 minutes later, and I'm already over halfway to my next delivery, my last one. And she's like, hi, this is so-and-so. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? And she's like, I don't have a couch on my porch.
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, my God, I instantly got sick. And I was like, oh, no, my stomach sank.
All that work.
Oh, my gosh. And it was like, it had to have been like 6 meals. And I was like, I am so sorry. What can I do? And I said the address back to her, and she's like, oh, my God, I must have written the wrong thing. And I was like, oh, no. So obviously, like, I wasn't truly at fault, but I still felt horrible. And I was like, please let me know, like, what I can do to, rectify the situation.
Yeah.
So I hit her up, like, an hour or two from then. She's like, I went home, I hurried up, I went to that address, and the guy had already eaten one of the salmon fried rice.
Oh, what?
And said,
He just finds food on his porch, like, I'm gonna eat this.
yes. But then he said, he was like, I need whoever made this information. This is one of the best things I've ever had. And she was like, you're going to have a customer for life. I'm like shoving this quinoa in my mouth. And I was like, I am so sorry, but that's also hilarious and great all at the same time. But, yeah, that was so funny. And who knows, like, everything happens for a reason, and who knows, that might be a new customer of mine.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love it. We've learned the hard way. We take pictures when we don't do deliveries anymore, but now we take pictures and
have to. I see a little Amazon on my camera.
Yeah, right. And it's like there was one, man, and it was like for our shop, for where it was like a good 40 minutes away, and we at the time we were doing, because it was mid-pandemic, so we were just trying to take every order we could.
Sure.
We were doing free delivery on orders of $10 or more. And which is like, we were losing money, obviously.
Yeah. Yes.
But just getting people, I knew that, like, if we can get people to order, then it didn't matter. Like, just do free delivery. It was basically free delivery for everyone. We weren't really checking, like, how much someone spent $2. We'd probably still deliver it. We might just, wait for a day where we're kind of in that area.
Right.
So we had this one, and she needed it. It was like for a birthday party for her son or something like that. And she's like, hey, like, did this get delivered? And we're like, yep, it got delivered. At that time, we didn't take any pictures. And so the person that did delivery, they're like, yeah, it was red door, mat, whatever. And somehow something got swapped. It was either an address that they had given us before, or it was just a different customer with a different address that, like, the information just somehow, what we wrote down or what we printed out, it just didn't match up with what it was. And of course she was upset, but I think it was like months later that we finally figured out, like,
what happened.
We did another delivery to that address, and we took a picture of it, and we were like, thanks again for your order, like, thanks for coming to us another time, even after that fiasco happened, and here's a picture of your order. And she's like, 1, I didn't order from you, and 2, that's not my door. And I was like, oh, okay. So then we started putting all the pieces together, and, like,
figured it out.
Yeah. But it's it's not easy.
No, it's not. But you're still here.
Still here.
You're still here.
Still out there and doing it.
Yes.
Showing up every day is, they say it's 80%. I think that's, it's everything. If you don't, there's so many people that talk about, like, what they're going to be doing, and then just never act on it. And like, I have to be careful with, you get in these circles of entrepreneurs, and there are people that want to, like, look and act and feel like an entrepreneur, but they don't actually do it.
Yeah.
And so you got to be careful of who, you end up giving your time to, or whatever. But the people that are there and doing it and show up, like, I mean, you could see it in their life. Like, they can't stop,
Absolutely. Yes.
So it's absolutely important. So if you're thinking about it and you want to do it, I've definitely learned more as I've grown, is to just like not talk about what's coming next, but just show people, like, you can give people like little hints here and
Teasers.
there, but yeah, and then that way if it doesn't work out, it's not like
End of the
this.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't make too much of a deal out of it until it's there and happening, and like, you get your, if you're getting new equipment or signing up for something new or whatever, offering something, like, you want to
Yeah.
make sure that you're able to back that up.
Yes.
And
I-
there's definitely been
yes.
some times where it's like, oh, we're doing this, and then it doesn't work out. It's like, oh, and then people ask,
Like,
like,
what
what happened to
happened?
that? Right?
Yep.
You don't want to be that guy.
Right.
So it's definitely important to, figure out exactly what you're doing, and then once you have it in motion, and then it can be a lot more fun just letting people see it,
Yes.
and then they're like,
whoa.
right.
It's like surprise, a little
Yeah.
surprise. Like,
Right.
Oh, nice.
And there'll be people that are like, oh, I didn't even know you did this thing, or like, how long have you been doing this? And we'll tell them, like, it's them that didn't
Yeah.
know, like
Yes.
I've literally been here, doing this thing, plugging away at it, and once we get to that point where, hopefully, majority of people, once everyone knows about it, then it seems pretty unstoppable.
Yeah.
So I love it.
that so much.
Thanks.
Yes.
I appreciate you being here and being on.
Thank you.
Is there? So I have this. I have lots of like ideas and things that like I think about, and little. I don't know if they're like isms or whatever, but one of my things is that, like, with small business, and one of the reasons I want to do this podcast is because I feel like every small business owner has a different reason why they do what they do, how they do what they do. And the example I give is bakeries, because like you could have 100 bakeries on one street, and they would open and close at different times. They'd use different ingredients. Some would be sourdough, some would be, and some would have different reasons. Some would go to school, some would be self-taught or have their grandmas or whatever. And like, you're such a great mix of all of these things. But like, that is with just small business in itself. And like, I could think of the dozen print shops that are in Pittsburgh and think about, how different they are from ours, and why they do what they do, and what sets them apart and what sets us apart, and always trying to find our what our identity or niche or whatever. I think that it's very important. And what I want to do with this podcast is kind of highlight like who these people are and what makes them different. And like, you might be at an event and you have a booth, and someone else has a booth, and someone might try, just a little pick of something, and then they go to the next one.
Yep.
And this is a chance to like go a layer deeper and figure out exactly like who you are, why you're doing it a little bit more. Like, I'm hoping to highlight that kind of like, and then as well, like, I don't know if it's selfishly, but give people an insight, and like even in my business,
Right.
and into who I am and what I'm doing and why I do it. There's only so much I think that we can like transfer into the day to day, and like, unless we're meeting people for like a long period of time, which generally doesn't happen. They only see that surface layer. So this is an opportunity for people to really like kind of dig in a little bit more and see like what the person behind it really is, and why they're doing what they're doing. So like, for me, obviously, I have my son. That was my primary reason that I needed to do this. And I still work the business around him and his schedule, and like,
Sure.
he has days off of school, and I try to adapt, and whether it's not taking on certain jobs because I know that's going to get in the way, or and it doesn't always work out, but doing my best to be accommodating and work within those constraints, so that I can so that I know that I created this business in that kind of with maybe shadow, where that's like kind of in the background.
Yeah.
So for you, like, is there anything, do you have anything to speak to that?
Yeah, I to kind of piggyback off what you said,
Yeah.
my kids are also in the center of mine as well.
Yeah.
Like my family too. Like personally, we didn't have a lot growing up. I mean, my mom made the best of every situation.
Yeah.
She really did.
Similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think like breaking generational
Yeah.
things.
Absolutely.
And this like goes very deep. And but my son, one thing that I tell him before he goes to bed every night, I tell him who he is and that he's the only. I say you're the only you. You're going to change the world someday. And it doesn't matter if it's like the littlest thing or something very large. But I genuinely feel inside of my soul that what I'm doing with food, in some way, someday, I'm going to change the world.
Yeah.
And again, that could just be the most tiny, minute thing. But that's really what drives me.
Yeah.
My kids, and just knowing that, like, you're born for a purpose. Like, you're here for a reason. And sometimes it's okay not to know that reason. But you are here for a reason, and you owe it to yourself to do the most with that.
Yeah, I think that shows through with what you're doing and how you do it. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it, like, doing what you're doing, I mean, all of us doing what we're doing in trying to do our best and in a positive way. I think when you look at it more in a macro, like, that is where, like, the community as a whole is, the negativity can be so loud, and just people that are just, putting their best into it, and there's the people that are doing that will recognize the other people that are doing that, right? And when you kind of zoom out a little bit, you might not realize that, like, it might not be, I might not go to bed thinking like that eating your food, because I have eaten your food and it's delicious, that was like life-changing for me. But when I think about my year or my month, and I think about all of the, the small businesses that I go to, or, the people that I've interacted with and everything, being that those experiences are compounding, good experience, I think that does elevate people's lives. Whether that's like, maybe, and hopefully the same thing with our business, where people might not be thinking about it like, oh, I went to PGHPrintShip and now my life is great. But, like, because of us and 1,000 other things, their life is great.
It's part of it.
And if we can all just kind of like fine tune and try to be that best part, then that, as a community, I think that's where, but like, trying not to put all that pressure on myself of like, I'm going to make someone's life great. Like, that I don't think
Just be great at being you.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's
that
what you're
will
responsible for.
Right. And that will keep, have that effect the longer you kind of,
it's a snowball effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then if they see it and they, you might change their attitude.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
So good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessed to be here. You guys.
Absolutely. And what would you say is, I love getting into like really like niche like questions, but then I get real caught up in like very particular things. So Brittany, do you have anything that like?
I guess thinking about like cooking classes for kids.
Yeah.
Like,
go back to that.
I know kids can do a lot more than we give them credit for. Like, how hard of like recipes, like what do you think kids are capable of in the kitchen?
So the biggest thing is safety. That's the thing you have to
course.
think about. Like kid knives and things like that. The biggest thing that you have to have when you're a parent, caregiver, whatever, you have to have patience. Yeah. And you have to, sure, if you're trying to show them like, hey, this is what you do with this, but also give it back to them and see what they do. Like, see how they're discovering that, hey, I just added flour, egg, and water, and now look, it's a dough. And now look, we're rolling it out. And now look, we're cutting it and boiling it and putting salt and pepper on it. Like, so again, safety and patience, but you really want to see what children do as well. You want to see how creative they get. Like when I was like 6 or 7 months pregnant, but I did, for really good client of mine, I did her daughter's birthday party, and it was like 15 kids, and they wanted to do pizzas. So I got a bunch of different toppings, even the different shapes in the bread, and what the kids were noticing, how the bubbles like were forming from the oxygen from the the dough, and how they can make different shapes, and like that was just watching them. I was like, you guys are all so cool. And one of the lessons that I taught to them, because when we made the cupcakes, I gave each child an ingredient to put in the bowl. And I said, just because you may have salt or sugar, I said, all of these things may seem different, but they can't work without the other. So each part is equally as important as the last. And that was something that they were like, oh, wow, because kids will fight over
like
things.
the flour, there's 3 cups and there's 1 teaspoon of baking soda. It's like, but without that, it's not going to rise.
Exactly. Right. It's not going to rise. That extra egg needs to be in there. This little bit of vanilla, you won't have that flavor. And just really honing in with that and watching these kids like, oh, wow. So even though it looked like, because, I have kids of my own, so I know Kurt would be like, well, Mommy, you have more than me than this. And I try and tell him the same thing. Like, you can't, they don't work without one another.
Yeah. Symbiotic.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yes.
What's something that working with these kids has taught you?
Really kind of going back to that again, patience.
Yeah.
And that's something that I can struggle with, because I'm also a person that like, hey, I know what I'm doing and I could probably get it done faster. But then I'm like, hold on a second, this is a part of his process. So I can't hinder that. And that is just really watching my son or anybody that I'm with just be creative and use their own mind to do whatever it is. So that's probably what it's taught me. And for myself too, be more patient with myself. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
I try to consider myself very patient, but when it comes to certain things, I'm not. And that's definitely one of them, because I mean, my son's almost 9 and he doesn't cook anything. And he should. There's no excuse other than the fact that I haven't taken the time to do it. I don't do a lot of cooking. And in turn, I don't really expect him to. But if if you got kids classes, I'm signing up. Yeah. So absolutely. Check the website, right?
I can absolutely check the website.
What is it again?
MyTaque, mytaque.com, or on that same thing on Instagram, on Facebook, and we'll be around.
Soon on TikTok.
Absolutely. You're gonna see some really cool videos. I'm ready. I have so much content ready. I do. I'm ready.
I love it.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna do a little sign off. And if you have any kind of last ideas, you're welcome to pop them out. But for myself, I just want to say thank you all for listening. This has been Thoughtful Discussions with Josh Snyder and my co-host,
Brittany.
And so if you want to check out our printing, that is PGHPrintShip.com, or on all social media, PGHPrintShip. And we would love to work with you. We'd love for you to check out exactly what we do. We do a ton of different types of printing, and we enjoy working with new customers. We have a ton of people that are like, hey, this is my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. And they like feel bad about it. And I'm like, no, this is like, that is why we're here. So we really, really enjoy that. If you want to follow me personally, Josh Snyder 86, and that's Snyder with an I, Snider. On Instagram is probably the best way to see like things that I have going on. We had an art show last week, and it was if you want to follow anything that I'm doing, everything kind of all flows through there. So and then the podcast Thoughtful Discussions also on TikTok, I think YouTube as well, and Instagram, Facebook, and all of that. So I will leave you to an outro.
Yeah. Thank you guys thank you so much for
Yeah.
allowing me to be here.
Thank you.
And again, if you're on the verge, take the jump, believe in yourself, show up for you. Again, my take, MYTAQUE, and I do also do lessons in home. I will, I'm going to do some collaborations with a couple because I do not have a brick and mortar.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do some collaborations with some business owners where I'll come in as a guest chef. So
Yeah.
just keep looking for the updates.
To add what you were just saying about like the people that might be thinking about starting their own business, like people can only take you as seriously as you take yourself.
Boom.
So whether it's branding or just showing up or putting in the effort of the ingredients or materials or whatever it is, you have to take yourself seriously, and people will not take you as seriously as you take yourself. They will. It'll be half or a quarter or whatever, but they will never take you more seriously. Or if they do, then they'll be disappointed. So, setting that expectation for yourself and making sure that you're at your best when you do start showing people who you are and what you're doing will go miles above. And I think that's something that people should focus on.
Absolutely. So
Cool.
good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your.
No, that's
That was
it.
it.
Everybody, that is it.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.